What? It might sound ridiculous to you, but this is how far my patience actually goes. This far. In fact, there is so much I could say and do to describe patience to you, or my lack of it, that I am going to have to break this topic into 2 videos. Ugh, another video on patience. I am so ready to hurry up and move on. Today's video is all about the concept of patience in general. And since I am known for being pretty brutal and impatient myself, especially with myself, I am going to go ahead and go right for the throat of impatience within myself. Why did I say myself 3 times? I hope that this is a benefit to you, but even if no one else can appreciate this, that is okay, because I myself have really benefited from studying patience. Next week, we're going to dive into what patience actually looks like on a practical level in the home education setting. But this week, I really want to do myself and you the favor of knocking down this misconstrued misconception about what patience actually is, the one about having enough patience to homeschool. Tonight on Harness Channel, News Channel 12, we are exploring a phenomenon that is sweeping the nation. Due to the stay-at-home policies of state and local governments, there has been a rise in Google searches on this topic. Apparently, alongside the toilet paper shortage, there is a shortage on patience. Suddenly, everyone is wondering where it comes from, what it is, and exactly how to obtain it. Today, we have with us 3 stuck-at-home correspondents weighing in on this most recent development. First, we will hear from scientist and director at Image International, Dr. Is. Dr. Is, it is a pleasure to have you on the show today. Could you please give us a definition of patience?
Patience is the ability to endure difficult circumstances, such as perseverance in the face of delay. It is tolerance of provocation without responding in annoyance and anger. It is forbearance when under strain, especially when faced with long-term difficulties. Patience is the level of endurance one can have before negativity. It is also used to refer to the character trait of being steadfast.
Thank you so much, Dr. Is, for that thorough definition.
You're welcome.
And now Dr. Ballet, a resident doctor and professor at Morgan University, will give us a list of symptoms that are to be found in someone who is displaying patience. Our News Channel 12 team went on site to Dr. Ballet's office to witness firsthand what it is like for her to see a patient who exhibits consistently this thing called patience. Dr. Ballet, what does patience look like in the people that you see at your office? Is this your patient?
Mm-hmm.
What is her name?
Sophie.
Dr. Ballet, what does patience look like in your patient?
Like this.
Okay, so there appears to be little to no blood pressure. Is that correct?
Yes.
And there's no pulse. Are we also observing that the mouth of this patient is in a constant relaxed smile?
Yeah.
The patient is apparently able to repetitively say the same phrase without a change in vocal quality or emotion. Is that normal for your patients?
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, folks. Apparently, this doll is in a constant state of patience. Thank you so much, Dr. Ballet, for your time. Lastly, we have with us Dr. Lane, distinguished professor and historian from Blount University. Thank you for joining us on the show today, Dr. Lane. Now, we have just observed patience in inanimate objects, but Dr. Lane, you claim that patience was also found in some mythology. We are wondering if there is any proof of patience among living creatures. Could you expound upon this reference to mythology for our viewers?
Complete patience only seems to be found in inanimate objects and mythological creatures. You are more likely to find a purple talking unicorn with opposing thumbs.
But unicorns have hooves, do they not?
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lane, for your generous and comprehensive thoughts on this topic. Well, folks, it appears that patience, although seemingly simple in definition, is actually quite complex physiologically and virtually impossible. Thank you so much for watching Harness Channel 12 News. I'm Heather Harness. And doing my own lazy and somewhat scatterbrained research on the topic of patience, which means I took definitions from the first few pages of my Google search, I have found that patience is, dun 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 dun, number 1, a song by Guns N' Roses, which came out in 1989. No, I do not have the rights to that song, so you're just gonna have to look it up yourself. Sorry, I've just created more work for you. I hope you have the patience to endure it. Let me know in the comments if you like the song. Patience is also the name of the game that we in the United States of America call solitaire. Apparently in Great Britain, somewhere in the UK, I don't know, they call it patience. I just call it that game my dad always plays on the computer. There's also a plant called the patience plant, commonly referred to as the balsam, or scientifically called Impatiens balsamina. Now, I do personally understand why they would call this the patient plant, because I have grown this hardy flower, and I can attest to the fact that it proliferates profusely and never stops coming back. I could say that it produces patience. At my first apartment, I planted a few in my garden bed. It took over my garden bed and my neighbor's. I pulled them up for years. They are beautiful, but they certainly produced impatiens. Get it? That was lame. They deserve the name. But obviously, that's not what you're looking for. Am I wasting your time? Junk, I got something in my eye. Can you have patience with me? But what is patience? Patience basically means to endure a provoking situation without a negative response, or at least without showing one. Enter parenthood. And now, due to the pandemic, enter home education. Add a little dash of working at home and you've got quite the little recipe of patience brewing. Even if your child is doing online school and you are not directly teaching the material, this applies to you because you've basically become your child's principal, or prison warden might be a better definition. And you are responsible for seeing that they participate effectively. Your patience will be tested, but I'm sure you will pass with flying colors.
Mom,
What?
how do you spell onomatopoeia?
I told you how to spell onomatopoeia 3 weeks ago. Why do I have to tell you again?
Because I can't remember.
Go downstairs and write it 20 times so you know how to spell it next time.
How am I supposed to write down the word if I can't remember it?
Look it up in the dictionary. And if you forget, you now have an entire page on your notebook devoted to that word. So here's that faulty thought we're working on, that you do not have enough patience to do this. But the truth is you probably are not patient enough to do this right now. That's the key. But what is patience? Patience is a noun, but it is not a person, place, or a thing. It's more of an idea. It is a state of being. It is an attitude. It is something you're going to have to put on and exercise. Think of patience like muscles. Patience is not the muscle itself, it is the state of that muscle. Is your muscle atrophied or weak, or is it strong? Patience is developed by resistance training, just like muscles are developed by resistance training. We all have the patience muscle. Mine was just puny. I make excuses for my lack of patience, just like I made excuses for my lack of getting up in the morning to exercise. In the past, I actually do that every day now. Well, 6 days a week. Impatience is actually the path of least resistance. For most of us, it's easiest. It's passive. Impatience focuses on my current feelings about a situation. It focuses on my inconvenience versus the inconvenience or care of another. And now for some wisdom. Finally, 1 Corinthians 13:4 states that love is patient. Now, I have this passage of scripture on my morning prayer wall that I see every morning, and I am so ashamed to say that it was literally this morning while I was studying patience for this video that I understood something. If love is patience towards our children or husbands or anyone else, then impatience is showing a lack of love towards our family and friends. This one really hit me hard this morning. How many times have I heard it said that it's not what we say to our kids, it's how we say it. Remember, I am an accidental homeschooler. I chose this because of the situations my family was in. My displeasure with being around the kids all the time and being mom and caterer and housekeeper and taxi cab and teacher and principal all at the same time, I'm ashamed to say has been very evident at times. Many more times than I would like to admit. We, especially as the stay-at-home parent, whether it is forced by the pandemic or just by our own choices, can sometimes feel the sting of responsibility that we didn't necessarily know we were signing up for. Even those of us who happily chose to homeschool have moments of frustration and impatience because we didn't really know all that came along with this responsibility. We didn't really know what homeschool looked like. We had the Pinterest version in our head. We saw our pretty and organized homeschool curriculums and rooms, and we didn't really foresee our child being obstinate and having a meltdown every time the word phonics was mentioned. The point is, we all face impatience. No one in this game is perfect. But before this video gets too long for me to edit, let me leave you with this one tip. It's easy for us to think of patience as something we do in order for us to keep our sanity and get our own stuff done. A lot of times we see patience as a defense mechanism to keep us from doing or saying things that we shouldn't after we've been provoked. But actually, patience is something we give. We should view it as a gift, and many times, actually all the time, it's usually not deserved. It's something we give to someone who is in a vulnerable position to us. I mean, think about it. It's a little bit easier for you to be patient with your boss that's in charge of your check than it is for you to be patient with your employee that's making you late to go see the boss that holds your check. But your patience is the most valuable to the people that are vulnerable to you. And it is definitely most valuable to the people that we are in the closest relationships with, like our family and friends, especially our children, and especially in stressful situations. So to sum up this very long-winded tip that I'm trying to articulate, remember, home education is an adjustment for your children as well as you. And they might not have the reasoning or the temperament or the wisdom or the maturity yet to handle it. Instead of just thinking about how to protect your own feelings during this time, which is honestly a lot of times what I think about because I feel my own feelings, not anyone else's. But reframe your thoughts and ask yourself, how can I show love in the form of patience in this moment to my child, or your husband, or your colleagues, if they're acting like children too? Hey, this tip works across the board. You're welcome. Remember, this is the first half of the topic of patience. This video just had one tip, but honestly, for me, it is the foundation tip. The foundation tip. I don't think that makes much sense. Normally foundations are broad and deep and thick, and a tip is, well, a tip. My next video will give you some practical tools to help you in regards to showing patience with home education. And if you found this video to be helpful, please like, share, subscribe, comment at the bottom. Tell me if you listened to the Guns N' Roses song. I'm not a big fan of, I think it's rock. I don't know, but tell me if you like it. And remember, harness the power of thought, and see you in the next video. And please, do us a favor, don't stop thinking.